Hello everyone, my name is Rick Jenkins and I am the Standard Plans Publication Engineer in the Roadway Design Office. Today I will cover the changes that were made to FDM 261 regarding structural supports for signs, signals, lighting, ITS, and tolling in the 2023 FDOT Design Manual. Let's start with a brief summary of the major changes to FDM 261. Language for tolling was added as part of the Turnpike Design Handbook migration. As many of you know, the Turnpike Design Handbook contents have been migrated to various publications through the central office. The Turnpike Design Handbook is no longer available. We've also added a reference for the Turnpike General Tolling requirements to this chapter of the FDM. And then requirements for galvanization and other coatings were relocated to this chapter as it applies to all ancillary structures. Previously, it only applied to the mast arm structures. Also added clarifications for the use of custom or non-standard overhead sign supports. We completely rewrote this section of the FDM Chapter 261 regarding the ancillary structure evaluations. It used to be Section 261.7 and is now Section 261.8. The purpose behind this rewrite is that the department wanted to move towards a risk-based approach for the evaluation of existing ancillary structures to reduce design costs and reduce instances of replacements prior to the end of the useful service life. Now let's dig a little deeper into Section 261.8. As I mentioned previously, it's been completely rewritten to provide detailed guidance and allowances for all ancillary structure categories. We made clarifications on the scope of condition evaluations. We provided simplified analysis methodology, and we provided design tools for existing mast arm analysis. We also provided more consistency in the documentation using PSEE and the department's bridge management system. We added methodologies for additional loading allowances for each of the ancillary structure types. We have given the district traffic operations engineers and the district structures design engineers the authority to make decisions using engineering judgment with justifications that will be documented in the ancillary structures report. Now let's talk about the actual language in FDM 261.8. I want to discuss several things. The first sentence states to evaluate existing ancillary structures within the project limits in accordance with this section to produce the ancillary structures report as described below in section 261.8.4. This is stated up front because the ancillary structures report is the product that will be delivered based on the requirements within this section. When it says to evaluate these structures within the project limits in accordance with this section, it's not saying you have to evaluate all structures within the project limits equally. You must read the section below, determine what needs to be evaluated and how it needs to be evaluated. I did want to quickly mention this reference to TEM section 3.9. That section provides the additional loading allowance for flexible backplates on mast arms and span wire signals. This criteria has not changed, but I wanted to point it out as a reminder. Now let's discuss condition evaluations. Condition evaluations are for ancillary structures that have a proposed change in the loading conditions and are proposed for relocation. When a condition evaluation takes place, there may be some findings that automatically qualify for a detailed structural analysis or maybe replacement. So when you do your condition evaluations, please discuss the findings with your district structures design engineer, and it may save a lot of time by determining whether or not the detailed structural analysis is even needed. Also, when you're looking for as-built plans, we do have a new resource called Prodo. It's a product documentation tool that is only accessible to FDOT staff. If you're working on a project and need to find an as-built plan, this may be an easy way to locate it based on a GIS system. Otherwise, you can still obtain those records from the district maintenance and the district design offices. Let's look at the next section in the chapter, existing ancillary structures to remain in place. When there is a structure to remain in place, there might be some strategies that can be used to reduce the additional structural loading. Here are some of the examples that we provide. If a device is being added to the structure, you may want to shift things around to mitigate that additional loading. Some of the districts actually have a prioritized list of options, so you may want to check with your district traffic operations office. But these are not the only options, just some of the things that can be done. The next section we will go over is section 261.8.2.1, determination of need for detailed structural analysis. It states here that a detailed structural analysis is not required for replacing attachments in kind, unless it's warranted by findings of the condition evaluation. We do want to make it clear that the additional loads allowed in this section are for a one-time allowance. This does not mean that you should go through one project, add attachments based on this, and then come through another project and add additional attachments. These are all attachments in excess of the original design throughout the entire life of the structure. I do want to point out this commentary and to make it clear that we understand the risk of structural failure, but in some cases, the benefit of adding these safety devices to the structures outweigh the potential risk for structural failure during the design extreme event limit state. So here we state the department has determined that we have accepted some level of risk to improve safety with the replacement of slightly overstressed ancillary structures based on the extreme event is not desirable. So if you replace these structures where they're slightly overstressed, that's not necessarily the desired outcome that the department wants. Okay, let's continue with this section. We have a bulleted list of the various types of ancillary structures and specific allowances for each type of structure that is specialized. These items have been thought through to determine what should be allowed without a detailed structural analysis. Here we have lighting structures and service or CCTV poles. Here we have span and cantilever overhead sign structures, tolling structures, and strain pole structures. We also have a section on standard mast arm structures, and we have a section on non-standard mast arm structures. Okay, here's some more information on a detailed structural analysis. When a detailed structural analysis is required, evaluate the capacity of the structure in accordance with the Structures Manual, Volume 3, Section 18.1. Consistent with that section, report the demand capacity ratios, stress ratios, and combined force interactions. If all of those ratios are less than or equal to 1.10, the existing structure may remain without processing a design variation or design exception. Now for projects not in a typical design bid build or design build contract. For example, a permit project or a push button or safety project. Typically, the district traffic operations engineer is the one making these safety improvements instead of the district structures design engineer. So whatever you do, you must obtain concurrence from the district structures maintenance engineer, DSME, and that DSME must document this decision in the BRM. Contact the district structures design engineer for guidance on a detailed structural analysis for existing ancillary structures without plans, shop drawings, foundation depths, or design calculations. For existing ancillary structures to be relocated, perform a condition evaluation and a detailed structural analysis for all of these structures. If the effort of removing the structure and relocating it is justified, it's worth it to go ahead and do that analysis. Here in this section is something new. It details what we expect to be included in the ancillary structures report. It states produce an ancillary structures report including the following: listing of ancillary structures within the project limits, including the proposed disposition. It would also include the condition evaluation if required, meaning that there might be some that are required and some that are not. It also would have any justification for when a detailed structural analysis is not required. And therefore, if the detailed structural analysis is required, then it would also have that detailed structural analysis. There would also be documentation of any required remedial actions. For example, something on the condition evaluation that needs to happen, or maybe something that needs to be repaired within the construction contract. Or if you had coordinated with maintenance and determined there was an issue with the structure that was found in the condition evaluation and that it should probably be handled through a maintenance contract, that would be discussed in that documentation. Also, any other items as specified by the district. When coordination takes place with the district structures design engineer, they may have something additional they want included in the ancillary structures report. The ancillary structures report will be submitted to the DSDE and the DSME, and that report will be stored in the PSEE and will be available for all of our users. In FDM 111, we have added a structure to the PSEE folders to allow a consistent placement of the ancillary structures report. So in table 111.7.1, we've also added this structure and document naming convention. So please make sure that the ancillary structures report is placed in the correct location within PSEE with the correct file name and folder structure. So here's a snapshot of the new Mast Arm evaluation tool. This tool was released late last year and is located on the Structures Design Office Program Library website. The web address for this site can be found here. Here's a screenshot of what the simple Mast Arm evaluation tool looks like. As you can see, the input is very straightforward. You place the wind speed, signal orientation, backplate width. You could also select the arm ID, which is basically a selection list of all the standard mast arms we've had. Then you can fill out this table with the locations and informations about the attachments. What it does is analyze the information and tell you what the CFI ratio is. The FDOT maximum CFI ratio is 1.10. Now, if it's a non-standard mast arm, it will change it to a percentage calculation. So please check this new tool out. Thank you for listening. I hope this information has been helpful. If you have any general questions about the presentation, please feel free to contact me. Andrei Pavlov is the technical expert on this subject and will be available to answer any technical questions you may have regarding this information. He has been very involved in this process and is extremely knowledgeable about all the criteria. Thank you again and have a great day.